Hello, family. I'm Janaya Feature Khan, and this is Dark Woke. Just before we hit it, I want to say thank you to all the listeners out there, and a special shout out to the supporters that make this show possible. It truly means the world to me. If you'd like to become a member, our Patreon is linked in the episode right up below. Listen. There's things to talk about. Okay? There's elections going on in Virginia and New Jersey. Both gubernatorial bids for the Democrats were successful. I'm waiting on Zoran, waiting on the results there. Deborah Messing has lost her fucking mind. It's just straight up Islamophobia. I'm not even gonna bother reading what she wrote, because you'd have to ask which one. She has like 80 stories up, like she's never done anything in her life. But the main thing is my favorite screenshot of her stories was how, with Christianity and, Judaism, it's like, these are just the normal religions, but Islam teaches you to lie. That's an actual thing that she wrote. It's an actual thing that she wrote. I'm going to read this, actually. I remember how I said I wasn't going to. In Judaism and Christianity, and I pronounce Judaism, because that's the way. It's more dramatic, but I'll adhere to American standards for the moment. In Judaism and Christianity, we are commanded to speak the truth. These are Deborah Messing's words. In Islam, they are commanded to lie if it means spreading Islam. Do not disregard this fundamental ideological difference. Now take a look at Mamdani. Apply that basic rule. Listen to his words, then watch his actions. He's revealing their goal. Mass conversion. Mass conversion is what she said. These two opposing civilizations cannot coexist. Okay, so there's a fucking lot to get into. There's a rant in me. There is a rant, and I apologize in advance because it will be offensive. It will be offensive because somehow this Deborah Messing screenshot is connected to yesterday's episode, which I am upset about. And the elections today, including their results, right? I have no idea how I'm going to weave these things together. Usually I know, but because of my head cold, I don't. I have no idea where I'm going with this. I just know that we're going. Like, we're going. We're going. Okay, so what I'm going to need you to do is, while I'm going and yapping, you're going to help pull the strings together while you listen and just pretend. Just pretend that it was there in the first place, right? Like, this isn't a thread situation. It's definitely a rope, And by that, lots of threads. That's how ropes are, right? They're just, okay. Listen to me. You listen. Oh, wait. There's something else that's really funny. Okay, wait, there's something else that's really funny. I had to pull this headline from the New York Post because it's amazing. Listen to this. How Zoran Mamdani's aloof wife, Rama Duwahi, quietly steered his campaign from behind the scenes. So, like, first of all, aloof wife, perfect. Chef's kiss, okay? Perfect. But it's like, she's aloof and she quietly steered his campaign behind the scenes. How could she do both? Right? Was she just like passive aggressively, like sending people notes about what to do? Was she like never talking directly to Zoran? Like, what are you talking about? They're so fucking weird over there. I can't even wrap my head around it. It's such a rag. It is such a fucking rag. Okay. 3 major elections today, right? 2 gubernatorial in nature. Never going to get tired of saying that word. And 1 is the mayoral race in New York City. We don't have the results for that one yet, right? Because they're open till 9. So I'm waiting on that one. Because can you imagine how mad, like, what's his name? Like Bill Ackman and fucking Deborah Messing, how mad they're going to be if Zoran Mamdani wins on the day Dick Cheney died. Just please, just take a moment to to let that soak in. It's like bath salts. It's a muscle relaxant. Just knowing it's just a muscle relaxant to just know that that's on the docket. And yes, we'll be talking about Cheney and his trash legacy. But today, there's a follow up from yesterday's episode, and then, as I mentioned, a rant, and it is connected to these elections. And then there's likely a rant in me that doesn't, because that's when you're just all steam. That's what you've got. You've got rants in you. So brace yourselves, children, because here we go. So I am not happy with yesterday's episode, and not because I didn't like it. I didn't. I like it in that the work is important. I don't like anything that I said. That doesn't mean it's not true. I want to be really clear about something, because I reminded myself, I was like, I have to check the comments. I'll do anything to, not write. And got some edits going down, and also my brain's gone. But, one of the comments, and I actually really appreciate, that y'all write them. And one of the comments got my attention because, Corey reminded me to like read them. And I was like, that's right. And not because I don't want to, but because I don't know where to go. I just don't understand tech. We're getting better, okay? But there was this one comment, that kind of, said, and I don't know if I'm allowed to. I will not allowed. I don't want to be disrespectful in saying this person's name, but I just know that, like, I'm down. I got you, okay? Says, okay, but I'm, there's the why it's happening. I agree. This is about yesterday's episode. There's the why it's happening. I agree that liberals don't care about Black history, marginalization, etc. But I'm still confused on what the left does about it. Okay, we build principled coalition with people with whom we disagree, so we can build power to change policy. Foggy territory, and I'm just like, yeah. And foggy territory had an exclamation mark on it. So just like, I want you to read it yelling, because that's how I read exclamation marks. Yes, I hate that. I hate it. That's not why we got into this. That's not why I got into this. I didn't get into this because I wanted to be like, I care about what happens on the Hill and I want to shape Parliament. Like, that's not why I got into this shit. None of us did. And for the record, that's not what I'm saying. I want to bring home the different ways that we approach work, or the work, across our two truths. Because remember, in this case, we're talking about the establishment. So that's the professional class. That's Democrats in general, right? Not literally the Democratic establishment, right? We obviously need a new change of leadership. None of our criticisms are in question here. They're all the same. The problem is in not engaging, right? Or not even understanding their rationale. We're not really getting anywhere. We're not really building power. I want to use these elections as an example. So the gubernatorial bids in New Jersey and Virginia were successful. Both Democrats have won. The larger one was Spanberger in Virginia, right? She won. And that's actually pretty significant. That's for the national landscape, right? For protections in Virginia for people that look like me or look like you or think like you, right? In terms of, hey, basic fairness and, all these other things actually matters. It was a pretty significant race. Was it one that I paid special attention to? No, I did not. I've actually been paying more attention to Mamdani, and that's the problem. Like, I'm not outside of this. We often, so like, okay, Mamdani wins, right? That's literally what I'm aiming. I'm like, yes, right? Also, just going back on that, if Sauron's partner, if his wife is aloof, what the fuck is Melania? like, she's not even there. deceased. She's like deceased. Like she's not even there. Like, please keep that girl's name out your mouth. Okay. They're winning in life. They're both fucking so hot. They're so hot. Rama and Zoran, don't even play. If he gets too busy, call me. That's all I'm gonna say. Well, after he wins, if he gets too busy, y'all could both call me up. No, I've paid a lot of attention to that because, first of all, it does matter. It's not insignificant. But I haven't, like, I went and I started sleuthing around and I realized that most leftist commentators are really obsessed. And I would say, like, leftist progressive, right? Not even fully left, but like, there's a lot of attention around this mayoral race. And the question, and of course, like, Schumer, what a fucking, bitch for not actively, enthusiastically endorsing Zoran, actually refusing to say who he voted for. Right? That's exactly, that rot needs to go. But it's concerning, right? Like, let's say like Zoran wins, right? Which I believe he will. What does that actually do for anyone in America? Like, that's not in New York City. I'm not talking, like, before we start going with the examples, right? And but this is like, it's what it represents, and I agree. That's where I go to. But what does it actually do for the people not in New York? Does it move the needle in any meaningful way? And more so, does it move it more than Virginia, right? And this is not finger pointing and indictment, whatever. I'm so much more interested in that, and I'm going to talk about why it's important. Because remember, what we're not challenging is what we already know to be true, which is that the example does matter. That Zoran winning, the mayoral race, the billionaire forces that are actively moving against him, right? Like, being a Muslim, like, all of these things are so incredibly significant. I don't want to diminish that. I'm asking a different set of questions. I am not coming with just simple solutions. Before we can have that, we have to understand the problem. And the problem is that we fucking suck. And there's a lot of reasons for why that is. We're also always right and we're incredible, but we do choose to have cultural presence over systemic power. Right. And similarly, I wasn't like, God, you know what I'm really passionate about? My civic duties. Like, it's just not, I was a foster kid. We didn't even talk about that shit. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't a thing. And then I come here and this system doesn't even make any goddamn sense. Like, at least we had, like, first past the post. We have the NDP, right? We have a 3-party system in Canada, and it's not perfect, far from, but it does require coalitions, right? Whether they're conservative parties in or it's the if it's the conservative or the liberals, whatever party's in power has to make friends with the minority. And those are the people in power are the ones who get to decide whether or not your teeth can get fixed or people can pay their rent, or emergency funds or any number of things. And I would like us to have more influence there. It's honestly just that simple. I'm like, and it's not, oh, that's all of our work to do. Like, suddenly we all need to become experts. And of course, one of the biggest issues, hurdles, I should say, is, it's not like there's a bunch of amazing people running all the time that we're so excited about. But there's this, like, disgusting word that comes in, right? Discipline. There's discipline. So I want Zoran Mamdani to win. I'm asking a question of whether or not we should be viewing that win in New York as more powerful, more relevant, more urgent than, say, winning in Virginia. Nobody that I know is excited about Spanberger. She has criticized Mamdani's policies. And not for the reasons that you think. Not like, I don't like this bus situation, but more, she's just like, he's over promising, which means he will underdeliver, which will ultimately hurt the party. I'm okay with trying and failing, and I think it's amazing that he's going to try new things, and that's generally the ethos of the party in the first place. I guess why try if you're going to fail? But then don't we sound like that? Like, oh, I just don't want to do this. What's the point? Right. So first and foremost, does it move the needle? Right. I've asked the question, does it move the needle if Zoran wins? And I'm not talking about culturally. I'm not. If you were to literally step back and say, okay, how does this benefit the fight in the country? How does this move the needle where we're weak? Right. Yesterday, I spoke about how Democrats were losing. And by the way, nobody's losing more than us in terms of having influence. Even the toothless, meth, riddled communities that somehow manage to be racist with scurvy, right? They actually have had more political influence than we have because they're guys in office, right? They voted against their own safety, their own interests, their own futures, whatever, right? Also, the Nignogs don't have a win, but they still are on the winning side. We could be successful. And so I'm asking some questions, and I'm trying to understand where we're missing things. And one of the biggest things, of course, is that just between progressives, which in this case I'm calling us that, and establishment, we're actually never having the same conversation. And what I've noticed with us progressives is that we are actually not even capable of demonstrating competency on the issue that they like this. It's ultimately the issue is the system is rigged, and it's like, we know the system is rigged, but then that was enough for us, and then we're just like, well, then fuck it. And now the system is killing people faster than you could make a hashtag, right? So the follow-up question is, does it make a difference that Spamberger is, one in Virginia, right? Does it make a difference? And Ezra, they're all so dumb. Like, it always comes back to fucking racism. They don't give a fuck about racism. But here's my question. Do we? Do you know how many fucking people on the left don't want to hear anything else about black people? Spamberger was running against Earl Sears, okay? That's her last name. She was a Jamaican woman. That's my people. I'm pretty sure she's an immigrant, so she come from yard. But she's a Republican. Fuck her. I don't care. I don't. You're up, bitch. I don't. And she was critical of Trump, and then he didn't like her, and then she kind of had to go more hardcore. It's a state that swings. It be swinging. So the question is, does it matter that Spamberger won? And here's the thing with governors, right? Ezra was like, it's about winning back the House and da-da-da-da-da-da. But so governors are not going to directly increase the number of House seats, right? The total number is capped by 435. That's just the law. That's what it is. But what governors can do is influence the political balance of a state's House delegation, right? By approving or vetoing district maps during the redistricting process. I have listed to you in yesterday's episode a number of, I'm going to open up my notes just so I can go back to it. The number of states that the Republican Party is seeking to steal by redistricting. There was Prop 50 here that I'm pretty sure is going to pass. When we started this, it wasn't locked down whether we won it or not, right? But they're stealing the elections, right? They're stealing the fucking elections by redrawing these district maps. And so everybody that we get into power that can stop that from happening and create better protections in those states, that's significant. That's something that we should want to happen. I'm really worried that we're also falling into this whole well, there's just nothing, right? There's nothing that we could do. Republicans have redrawn the maps in Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas, right? They want to do the same thing in Florida and in Indiana. We actually need people who want to do the shit that we don't want to. I don't want to. I I don't even know how to read maps. You know, when you had to do that longitude, latitude thing, whatever this latitude thing, I always end up in the ocean. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not a geography nigga. I'm not a math nigga. We broke up. You know this. So I'm not going to be the person redrawing those maps. We need people who want to do those things. It's not just we got to drop everything and this is all we do. It's that we actually have to do things, right? We actually have to do things and stop feeling like we're the special ones. And by the way, I'm not talking about y'all. I'm really not. I'm going to tell you something. Nobody who's listening to this show is like, I'm the special one. I put you through hell. I'm like, we're going to talk about this really niche thing that's very important, you know, or we're going to talk about the take nobody wants to talk about, right? That's that you are not who I'm talking about. I feel so bad. You know, but you know, and of course, and Corey's on me, and you know, we just got our shit together over here. But it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to make this pop. I'm good at making things pop when I'm focused, right? It's my job, but I'm gonna do it. Still doing the work that matters to me, and I kind of lost that for a second, right? I was like, I don't know how to be this internet person. I don't know how to be light skin on the internet. They don't. All the other light skins have no problems, but I don't want to do that. And so I don't want to betray the work. This work is harder, and that's the thing. It's the harder work that lends to results versus the easier work that lends to like self-aggrandizement, right? And maybe even if you're lucky, some cultural influence. I want to like, I did the thing that a lot of people on the left fantasize about, right? When we think about revolution, by the way, it did not happen the way I thought. First of all, I didn't even like the name Black Lives Matter. So fucking soft, right? I was like, we're not even an animal, like nothing, like we're talking about, you know, the Black Liberation Army. We're talking about the Black Panthers. You know, UNITY, and we're Black Lives Matter. Like women definitely made that up. You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, but because at first I was like, this is way too soft. I don't like this. But then I appreciated it. I came to appreciate it because whether people could say it or not was an immediate indication of where they were politically, right? All these people who were like, initially, you know, BLM is just a bunch of. I was like, wow, if you can't even say this soft ass, basic ass line, that tells me exactly where you stand. I told you this was going to be all over the place, but just stick it with me. And this rant that I got inside of me is just going to be absolutely fucking unhinged, okay? Unhinged. But today I am the aloof wife. I'm aloof. I'm the opposite of aloof. I care so much. Okay. So I want to be really clear, right? Well, what else? What else can a governor do? Like, how much do we care, right? What else can a governor do? Right. We know about the redistricting, reapportionment, not just obviously the maps, but the number of seats a party holds in the House. Okay. That's what Newsom is changing so they can't steal the election from us. But then they do things like the National Guard and whether or not they're running up in the fucking streets, right? The influence of ICE in a particular state, how emboldened people feel, how safe people are, what those protections are, right? I think we can say pretty assuredly that a governor in a swing state winning that is very significant, but nobody was talking about it, including me, right? Including me. I like what's going on in New York, but they're okay over there. Not like the best ever, but they're good. You know, as soon as you move to New York, I don't know if you know this, but you get like you enter New York and you know how like what's that stereotype of Hawaii? They'll put the lay on you. You get a non-binary. Okay, like as soon as you move to New York, there you actually get a non-binary that just goes with you and just helps you. You know, as a guy that sometimes is great and sometimes annoying because non-binary. You know, it's a both end or neither. But you get one of those. That's we're talking about a place that has like what 50, 51 like district seats, whatever. Only six are Republican. Culturally, it's massive, and of course, it's like a boost for our morale, right? And an opportunity to demonstrate a different way of being. But shouldn't we be wanting to expand that out? Which would mean local organ. That's one of the things that Ezra spoke to, and then I'll talk about all the ways he's fucking annoying, certainly. But one of the things that he spoke to was the shift from right local politics, like politics to national, and that is true. That changed with the influence of social media, but also the professional class of journalists and reporters and everything else having constant access to each other, constant, whatever. So now when something local is happening, and when I say local, I don't even mean regionally, I mean on a state level. Sorry, literally like, no, even smaller, right? But even on a state level, it doesn't matter to us. We actually don't like, we don't want to really read it. And like, where do you think we get examples of our best work from? We used to be in not-for-profits. Now, if somebody says we got a not-for-profit leader, we don't watch that. We're not interested in what they have to say. That's an issue area expert that's doing frontline service work for the people that we claim to care about. And here's my rant, because I want to be clear. I'll save the worst always for these fucking losers that don't give a shit about racism. But my question is, do we? I don't think we do. I haven't heard anybody say anything meaningful about Black people in fucking years. I haven't seen a single follow up from some of the most active accounts on Black people who have been murdered by cops. Like, where do we get this idea that we get to judge fucking anything? Like I want to judge. Do you want to know why I do so much due diligence on my facts? I mean, it's my responsibility, to be clear. It is my responsibility. And I care about it. I like being right. But you want to know why? Not just because it's my responsibility, because I enjoy being better. I enjoy it. I enjoy being above the fray. I enjoy being beyond there was a word that was in my head and then it just went away, right? But the point is, like, if like I make sure my side of the street is clean so that I can drag somebody over it. It's not good, right? Like, it's like, and I think we do that. We sit back and we say, but like, yeah, but Ezra Klein's a racist, right? Dana White is a racist. Joe Rogan is a racist. They have more relationships with Black people than any white person I know, to be perfectly honest with you. And I know because every time I'm around, I could tell by how people be acting. Also, we just live in a segregated world, but like we say, okay, Ezra Ta-Nehisi sits down together, whatever. He doesn't express empathy for X, Y, Z, right? Doesn't seem to care that these folks like the Kirks are spreading racist bullshit, right? So in Ezra saying he practices the right way, we're like, he's a racist. He's a racist. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about racism in any way? And again, none of this is judgment. These are just, it's just truth. I'm up sleuthing all the time. I'm a sleuther. I do read, more things. I'm not on social media as much as I ought to be, but to make sure I was right, I checked. I checked, right? We're not talking about racism that much. We're really not talking about racism that much at all, and specifically around black folks. Even with these detention centers and the anti-ICE protests, right? What was the average age was of No King? 62 years old. Where you at? Like where you at? Okay, cool. Well, like maybe it's because it's so big, and where do we, and we're not a fan of police brutality. We're culture workers. Okay, cool. What about the fact that Teen Vogue just fired all of their black women journalists? There's actually no black people left. No. Does anybody have anything to say about that? So, and for the record, let me just paint you a picture, okay? Teen Vogue merged with Vogue, and so there's massive layoffs. The entire politics team was gutted. It's gone, right? It sucks for journalism. Actually, they did have, I mean, certainly they used like clickbait bullshit headlines sometimes, right? But they still had to keep up a certain level of due diligence and editorial standards, including fact checking, right? Including sourcing, things that podcast people don't have to do. That's why I make sure. Oh shit! Yesterday I forgot, but usually I cite my sources, and when we're a little bit more, in the groove, right? And the groove is a bit deeper because in a way, starting this from like zero, but zero with everything I know, which is not zero at all. We'll have some infrastructure around that so that you can have access to it. So they go like it's gone, right? Nobody wants to talk about politics. The whole entity of Conde Nast, nobody touched Palestine, but the little journo girlies at Teen Vogue, they were. I seen a lot of people because I like knowing too many things, and I seen a lot of people being like, "This is a terrible blow to the youth. This is a terrible blow to the youth." And I was like, "I wish you had done a bit more research." It wasn't actually teenagers who were reading Teen Vogue; it was millennials mostly, but 30% were men, right? 30%. That's pretty high for what it was, and there's a couple of things, right? Like that sucks about that. And I've sort of pointed to a few that we should be really worried about. But I'll add to it, right? That it sucks for journalism. Their entire politics team was gutted. They wrote about Palestine. They One of the things that I hate about this is that Teen Vogue took women and girls seriously, their opinions seriously, their girl humor seriously, and folded those things together. There's not a lot of spaces where that exists with that level of editorial standard, right? And again, it was largely millennials who were reading it because we're pretty fucking gangster, right? But it points to something else too, which is that we too often, and I would include again the whole left, the entity that is the left. So anybody that is not right, there's no such thing as center. It's a bunch of bullshit, right? I just had another thought in my head and I was like, shit, because here's the thing. Okay, sorry. I'm going to say one other thing and then I'm going to go back to this thing. But the one other thing I want to say is again, our needles are different, with the establishment and the progressives, and it's not the same. Okay. Because Spanberger promises more of the same. We know that that's not right, but it moves the political power needle in the direction we need it to move, right? The problem is that it's always the same cycle, and so we know that, but we also do nothing to break it because we know that the cultural piece, that's a needle that needs to move in addition with it, right? And then we would move it even further to the left, but we don't even do that. We just watch. If we were to combine something or at least aim for more influence, we'd be something. We know more of the same is the danger. That's what got us all here in the fucking first place. At the same time, the consolidation of power on the right is literally killing people. And we don't get to sit back and be like, this is wrong, and then do nothing about it. That doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. Right? It's literally like, go push, if where are you going to go with this? We should know. Go back to the Teen Vogue thing. Finish that thought, and then, okay, just put a pin, and then just right back into the Teen Vogue thing. Okay, just let me finish there because I was all over the place. We rely on establishment media. We rely on MSNBC. We rely on even CNN or whatever. We rely on this general sense of goodness and common sense that will just persist. Right? We actually haven't built up any infrastructure for information pipelines. We've had not-for-profits. We've had this. We've had that. But we don't really have, and it makes sense. We have no funding. It's really expensive. It takes a lot of time. You have to have a strong stomach for it. But that's what men did. They fucking did that shit. You might not like what they say. I like a lot of what they say, to be honest with you. Right? Not the weird shit. But I enjoy how the dialogue happens. And it just so happens that the most influential ones are trash. But isn't it our job to build up our own, or just judge what other people do? If we don't like it, become a champion for somebody else's shit. We just kind of sit back and yap, and it bothers me. The manosphere isn't it didn't start out as some well-oiled machine. It started out in the fog, and I really appreciated the fogginess because, yeah, that's what exploration is, right? That whole, like, with the comment in the fog and, seems foggy with a foggy. And I couldn't agree but I want to be clear about something. The trying and the attempt is foggy, but we have the clearest possible view of where we're headed, and it's fucking awful. We should go into the unknown now. Right? That the unknown is where we win. The skies are crystal fucking clear on where we're headed. And it's everything that we say that we're against. So this is my thing. Okay. Now here comes my rant because, okay. Ayana Ishmael was laid off. She was the style editor at Teen Vogue, right? She said there was no longer any black women working there. And go back, like, think of Karen Adia, gone. Right, from Washington Post. Joanne Reed, gone. From MSNBC, and I like that shit, right? What are the large implications on journalism, on black journalism, right? Just think about this. In under a month, there goes Teen Vogue, their politics verticals, gone. No black women there anymore. Vibe magazine, gone, right? Was gutted in the Rolling Stone merger. NBC, under Barry Weiss, has gutted NBC Black. It doesn't exist anymore. And, with that, all other marginalized verticals, right? So that's it. I know there's going to be a huge infusion of a pro-apartheid tilt, not a pro-Zionist tilt. That's not the correct term. It's Israeli apartheid, right? It's going to be a pro-apartheid tilt. And I'm like bumming myself out here. Like, I don't want to do this, but I'm trying to figure this shit out. I really am, because here's my fucking rant, right? We're like, well, what about racism? Well, what the fuck about it? I'm not seeing anybody do shit in a way that makes me feel like we've made any significant progress. Okay, so, like, this is the logic currently, and this is what's driving me nuts, okay? Because we have to build political power, but I don't think there's a singular way to do it. At a base level, the only thing that I'm an advocate for majorly is us being of impact in any way. like some impact, right? We haven't even achieved mouse fart status. We have to have some kind of impact, because the sitting back isn't working. And then, we'll do some sort of pop culture thing so that we're better. I'll tap cord, because this is terrible. I don't want to talk about what I'm talking about, but this is what's pissing me off. All right. Like, I didn't get into the work to be like, I want to be an influence on the Hill. And I don't think most of us did. It's just, I've done it the other way. This is where I was going through before. Like, I've done the marches, I've done the protests, I've done the travel, I've done the college tours, and not the college tour and like nice and fancy and whatever. No, like the way that Bobby Seale fucking did, the unknowns, the traveling, the talking and connecting with students, right? I've slept in the church basement floors. I've slept in the garages. I've slept in hotels and motels where it looks like people have gotten murdered. And that was for, I've done crisis response. I've built out media strategies, right? I've created and ushered in national campaigns, local campaigns. I've written curriculum. I've marched, I've protested, I've rallied, I've organized, all of the above, right? I've been pepper sprayed, I've been this, I've been that, I've been hit, whatever, right? I did it. I didn't move. We didn't move the power needle though. We moved the cultural needle, and that was great. Maybe because we've spent all this time resenting, hating, despising this work, maybe like this, and this work being, what it would look like to have a proper electoral justice strategy. And maybe it's just because we just have never really taken it seriously. Maybe it's because maybe we actually just need to change mind. I don't love writing. I don't love social media. Those are the two areas where I'm weakest right now. And that's a mentality problem. That's a discipline problem. That's a gratitude problem. I'm reminding myself all the time that I'm grateful to do this. How awesome, how grateful, how amazing that we might actually have some sort of meaningful impact while we're alive. How amazing is that? What kind of opportunity? Do you think that people in fucking Palestine are doing that right now? You think they get to fucking sit there and think, God, I wonder if I should engage in this political process? That's been stripped from them. Every right. So my question is, right? My question is, and everything I have to say to the establishment Dems and everything else is a million times worse, but I'm talking to us right now, right? My question is it acceptable, right? Is it still acceptable, knowing what we know now, that you can be a leftist and march against genocide in Palestine, but won't seek to change the power structure that enables it? Is that acceptable still, knowing what we know now? Right? Is it acceptable to be a leftist and get online and say, I care about trans rights because I'm demanding my pronoun be respected, and then not seek at all to influence the power structure that has removed trans rights? Is it leftist, right, to say racism is bad and then do nothing about the system that's destroying all of our lives, that's literally designed by fucking racism? Anti-black racism specifically. It always comes back to racism in fucking America. And so the question is, why? Why are we not talking about it all the time? Why are we not well versed about it? Why are we so weird about it? Right? We say but Ezra Klein doesn't care about race. He doesn't care about race. He's at least seeking to influence the system that's destroying people's lives, largely people of color. So, and the reason why, and this is where I'm off the fucking rails, right? And I'm not wrong about this, but I am off the fucking rails. I know it. Oh, Zoran won. Zoran fucking won.
My husband. Yep. My husband.
He fucking won. He won. Fuck you, Cuomo, you bitch. Okay. Corey's about to jump back in. I don't even know if I should be saying this shit, but I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna, because it's just true. There is, hold on, maybe if I say it more like Baldwin, I won't get scoured so hard. But it's like, no, but if you've read Baldwin, you know this. Like, we know all of this. Like, white people believe that they are just innately good. That is something that America teaches you, that the West teaches you, that you are good because you're here. You're a good person and you do good. That's actually what Deborah Messing is communicating in that message, right? This Judaism, Christianity, these are good because they're white, right? Everything else is bad. That, now you can say that's Islamophobia, but Islamophobia is driven by racism first and foremost. Right? If every Muslim in the world was fucking white, you think this would be the problem? Like, we'd have different problems, different names, whatever. I'm sorry, I need to get more concentrated. I want to be really clear. Part of the reason why we're not fighting against racism, part of the reason why we're not seeking to build power is because there is a sense that we are already good and right. And a big part of that is because our movement as a collective, again, right? Talking from the progressives all the way, right? All the way. You're not right. So liberal to left. The white cultures that shape our discourse, because blackness has been marginalized across the left, is, well, I'm already good, so I don't have to do good. It's exceptionalism, right? It's that entitlement. You can read about this. There's so much, but this is the thing. Trans people who are largely like it's the white ones that are really shaping the discourse, and a big reason, right? And again, it's the same thing with Ezra. It's all of these folks, but I'm interested in the left, right? And those who get to shape it. They don't need to fight against racism, and they don't need to seek to build political power because they're right. Because they're already a good person. Look at what I believe. I'm already good. But when you're poor, right? When you're black, when you're brown, when you're a woman, right? When you're disabled, all these things. Sometimes that gets challenged. If you are black, it 100% does. Right? You understand immediately that you are not good, that you are dirty, that you are worthless. It is said implicitly and explicitly, and black children become aware of this as soon as the world becomes aware of them. It's so understood, it scarcely need be acknowledged. That's how racism functions, right? So we are free from the belief of innate goodness. We understand and come to understand that our sense of goodness, our sense of worth has to come from something deeper inside, but also from our actions and how we treat each other. It's partly why black people are much more inclined to forgive. Right? The Western world, the white world, is very much invested in punishment and endless punishment. And even punishment to prove a point, including let the world fucking burn. See, I'm right. See, I was right. I told you that they were bad. I told you that America was bad. So let it burn. And don't get me wrong. It's not all the white queers and the whatever do this. There's some inside white black people. Oh my God, they only date white people and then use their identity as like a bludgeon in those like really sad fraught relationships. I know about those people too. They are queer before they're black. A black lens, a black liberation politic is the only thing that gets us all out of this. You already know how I feel about that. I'm furious about it. I was like, anything else, please God, anything else. But a big reason for why we do not organize anymore across the left is because, or effectively, I should say, is because there are too many leaders that believe that they're good people that don't look like me, right? And don't want to hear from black folks. We've become so identitarian. And that's it. We become identitarian. The thing that makes me laugh is for all of his hubris, right? And for all he's so fucking annoying, and for all of his massive gaps, and they are fucking massive. Ezra Klein demonstrates more tolerance for differing ideas, even in Zoran Mamdani, than the majority of leftists I know. We have become so fucking entrenched and intolerant and certain of our rightness that we just sit back. And Christianity teaches that you're innately good. Judaism teaches that you're innately good, that you're chosen, right? Christianity explicitly teaches you this, right? Oh shit, I've been talking way too fucking much. Hold on, we could really quick. We got to talk about the death of Dick. The Dick is dead. Dick Cheney's gone, and this is just exactly it. I want to be really clear because everyone was like, "He's so but like, remember how he whatever." Oh, by the way, there's one other point I want to make. Right, like we're like Trump is so fucked up. He's so fucked up. 42 million people are gonna go hungry in this country. We can't, like I said, we can't mutual aid our way out of this shit. You still need to locally. Don't get me wrong. It's not sustainable. But you want to know why the contingency funds were used? It's not because Donald Trump wanted to. He fucking didn't. It was because 2 judges made it possible. Do you want to know where those judges came from? They were appointed during Obama's time in office. I think we can try to approach this a little differently by starting with the things that we hate the most. And for the record, I hate everything I'm saying. And I'm not, and the first step isn't, okay, let's just take action. It's understanding what we're getting wrong. It's understanding what the other logic is, what the truth is in what they believe, and they being the establishment. Okay. Now back to this nigga Dick. He dead. He's an architect. He's a foreign policy architect. He's exactly what is wrong with America, right? He is one of the key architects for the repeated failure known as the War on Terror, okay? He's a guy who made himself one of the most powerful vice presidents in U.S. history. He was a key player in pushing to evade Iraq, and you already know I'm going to bring us all back full circle, and then Corey's going to take us out with a question that I have, because I actually do need it answered, and it is about Glee. Normalized torture, the use of torture in the Middle East, and then also here at home on what they saw suspected Al-Qaeda members, right? Detained without charge in the CIA's offshore, quote, black sites. It's starting to sound a little bit like Trump, right? Exactly, right? And now look, until his dying day, which was today, Dick Cheney insisted that the 2003 invasion of Iraq and the toppling of Saddam Hussein was the right decision. What was the justification for going in there? Oh, yeah, that's right. Weapons of mass destruction. Guess what they found there? No weapons of mass destruction. It was never really about that. And all they did was create more unrest and civil conflict and murder and death that cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of Iraqi citizens. Retribution, right? Retribution for 9/11. At the same time, 9/11 would not have happened if the U.S. wasn't bolstering and funding the genocide of Palestinians through its support of Israel and its funding of and bankrolling of Israel, right? That is a connection that we all made that we likely didn't know before. I certainly did not, right? Just how much the overlap was, right? So when I see people saying, yeah, but he came out swinging against Trump towards the end, right? He's part of the reason how we fucking got here. And I'm not just talking about our relations in the Middle East. I mean, he took the view, right, that the powers of the presidency should be higher to that of the other branches of higher than the other branches of government, right? He argued that the White House was unnecessarily, unduly constrained by Congress, right? And this was, of course, in the aftermath of Nixon and Watergate. So Cheney's theory of executive power, that being the expansion of executive power and its use, for him, it wasn't about, and for men like him, it wasn't about what it should do, but what it could do. And what he wanted to do was marginalize Congress, and that is the blueprint that Trump is following in. So yeah, he fiercely criticized Trump for his excesses, But Cheney was fully unapologetic about his record, including how he helped streamline him getting there. Right? Cheney said that an American president should have a free hand in wielding U.S. power in the world. He believed that America was, quote, the greatest force for good the world has ever known. I saw the same kinds of things in Dulles and with the Dulles brothers in Reading the Brothers, where one is a CIA head of the CIA and the other was head of the state, Secretary of State. This belief in their goodness, right, bolstered by Christianity or Catholicism, has led to much of the world's horrors. And I'm asking us if we somehow think that we're spared that sense of and belief of innate goodness, right, as culturally in our movements. Torture, right? He believed that torture, quote, enhanced interrogation and kept us safe, even though there's literally no evidence that the use of torture, including waterboarding, led to the thwarting of any fucking attacks at all, let alone further attacks, right? This is the guy that activated Guantanamo Bay. Tainted, used torture, which made all the testimony in several 9/11 cases unheard because they were tortured in Guantanamo Bay without being charged. Oh, by the way, Trump is using Guantanamo Bay now as a holding center for deported migrants. So I'm going to end with this. What did the Iraq war cost the American people, right? What did it actually, because it's like, oh, this is from Brown University. There's other sources for sure, but I'm using conservative numbers because the numbers are actually higher, but I'm using the most conservative ones I could find. Right? The Iraq war, what did it cost people, American people? Nearly $2 trillion to date, right? So that's like, think $6,000 to $8,000 per person. If I'm, again, being the most conservative I could absolutely find. So, that's what you paid for. But the other question I had was, how much money did American businesses make, right? And of course, we're mostly talking about weapons contractors, etc. And this source is here, CNN, and Business and Human Rights Resource Center, okay? Government contracts were worth hundreds of billions of dollars for services like logistics, security, and military supplies. Kellogg, Brown, and Root, that's a company I've never heard of. It's a subsidiary of Halliburton, also had received at least $39.5 billion, where other contractors gained billions more for providing services such as transporting fuel and supplying aircraft. When we talk about it being a massive business expense, something useful, this is why this happens. People make so much money off of it, and that's ultimately always the reason, right? The U.S. spent at least $138 billion on contracts related to the Iraq war. Again, everything is conservative. The top 10 contractors secured at least $72 billion in business, right? Lockheed Martin, a supplier of fighter jets, an International Oil Trading Co., fuel transportation, profited significantly. There was obviously waste and fraud. You're going to love this last point that I make right after this. Overcharging, waste, fraud, all of that is true. That was estimated between $31 and $60 billion. Like literally just waste, fraud, and abuse. Estimated between $31 and $60 billion. Right? But BLM stole, even though the IRS couldn't find anything. Look, and for the record, there was a massive amount. Massive. We're not that money I just said, the $31 to $60 billion, right? Because we can't even conceive of billions, let alone trillions, right? It's like that. There was massive amounts of cash that were being transported to Iraq, like across that just went missing, just straight up went fucking missing. And for the record, it's still costing people because, of course, you're going to have, with veteran care and all these other things. It's by 2050, it's going to be estimated, it's going to be close to or above $3 trillion. So the number is still increasing. There's legacies to this stuff. At a certain point, we have to confront the fact that marching in the street, when it's not connected to any single campaign or set of policy or person, doesn't work. It just doesn't fucking work anymore. That's it. That's all. That's all there is to it. And I think it's worth thinking through what things we want to do. Like why is it why do like, and for the record, I fucking hate the idea of you know, can't running candidates and shit. I'm like, oh, yuck. And I don't know where that comes from, except for self-righteousness. And I prefer doing like, I think we all prefer doing culture work. It feels way harder, but I'm like, or is it just because that's all we've done? That's all we've had to do. There's great organizers all throughout the country. At the very least, we can champion those. So I'm not coming with this is the only way to do work. And yes, this was all over the place, and thanks, because I got a sick thing in my head. But this is a weird pivot, but just go with it, okay? Just go with it. And I hope I made things clear. Like, it concerns me that we all are falling mercy to the hype train. I just want to end where we began before I tap Corey with my very big question related to Ryan Murphy and Glee. I just don't get why. It concerns me that every person with a platform that I saw that considers what to be left was only talking about New York City. New York City is great. Mamdani winning, so hot, perfect, amazing, wonderful, and meaningful for the people of New York City. But what about the rest of the fucking country? Arguably, from the power analysis, right? Power mapping is something we used to be good at doing. From a power perspective, it actually is more significant that Spamberger won. From a power perspective. Honestly, it's just about widening our aperture. That alone would be fucking amazing. But we're all talking about the same things. That's it. Like, we all just talk about the same things now. There's no issue area expertise in the way that there used to be. That allows for any kind of consistency. But anyway, I do want to say, because I'm like, this feels too dark, that I really do think it's just an adjustment, like in a boxing ring. Like, we just need to make a little bit of adjustment. But I'm with you in the whole, like, what I'm saying sounds like it fucking sucks. But I honestly think that's just because we don't know what it means, or maybe even how to do it. And I think that's probably a good thing. So yeah, we should go into the fog a little bit, like 15,000 years ago or something like that. Some niggas crossed the Bering Strait, and that's how indigenous people came to the Americas. That's, go into the unknown. Unfortunately, this is what the unknown looks like for us now. We don't get to walk around. The people who are getting fucking deported, and they don't even want to walk around. It's because we give fucking shit up where they live. Okay. So I had this crazy question that now, and it's worth the wait, related to Glee. Okay. So I'm there, I'm sleuthing, and I see that Ryan Murphy's latest show with like Kim Kardashian and everything else gets a score I've never seen before in my life, which was 0. The Guardian they're so good and vicious. But they've got great standards, in their they do culture criticism, and they do it well. But I've never seen them give 0 to anything. And then a bunch of other zeros came in, and I was like, holy shit. But then it reminded me of a question that I had to ask Corey. It's like, an hour pop culture guy. I was like, what's interesting? And Corey, could you come in here now? Because it'd be so good if I could just ask this question to you live. Like, he just doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Everyone's getting thrown into my brain right now. Sorry. Why does everyone say that Glee ruined television? It's not once or twice that I've seen that. I've heard so many people say, television critics, TV writers, you know what I mean? Like, just writers in general, actors, everyone. Well, there is a common conclusion across multiple, professions that Glee ruined TV. And I don't fucking get it. Like, Like, I know it got weird after a point, but like, why did it, like, what happened?
So first, to answer your very funny question, I think we have to understand what Glee successfully did first. So Glee sort of came out at a time where there was a gap for primetime television shows that appealed to the coveted 18 through 22 market, right? This is a age gap that is very appealing for advertisers, which is to say commercials that'll be run during the show, right? Glee had that. Now, Glee started out as a dark comedy about these weirdos in a high school in Ohio who all, by some way or another, ends up in a show choir. Now, production wise, Glee sort of pioneered a few things. Glee was sort of a machine in the sense that every episode had numerous dance numbers, right? The actors were juggling, filming and rehearsing musical numbers that included choreography and vocal performances, as well as filming the shows out of sequence because a song
Oh,
came
right.
out Tuesday, right? But it was on Glee that same week. So they had to, they say the devil works hard, but Ryan Murphy's music team worked harder. So
I'm
it,
dead.
it was a lot of moving parts. Aside
Right.
from that, so that just made it very, very successful for Fox, right? Fox is one of the big primetime networks, right? So Fox said, hey, all these people are watching, which means all these advertisers are going to want to hawk their shit during your 1 hour of TV. So that was where it was on the production sort of development TV production side.
Hmm.
The show itself was a whole different beast. Now, season one, and I would say maybe like halfway into season two, solid television. You had a group of underdogs who did not have wins in their normal teenage lives, but show choir was the one thing where they sort of said, wait, this is something that we can all collectively do and win.
Right. Like just gay nerds, the gay nerd
Totally.
core. Yeah. Okay.
Every type of like underdog it was like they had a black character, a gay character at a time where there were no gay characters in primetime television, by the way. Like this Kurt
Wait,
Hummel
was
was like
Kurt it?
Kurt was it. Kurt was it. Matter of
Ah,
fact, when I was in school,
I think you're
because
right.
a little bit of personal sort of lore, I was outed unfortunately in high school. So like
Oof.
every sort of way that people could connect to me was through Kurt on Glee. But Kurt was a white gay. I am not. So there was a little bit of a disconnect there.
To be like, this is for those in the know. This is a very specific type of gay,
Yes.
white gay.
Yes.
It can go one of two ways:
Yes.
bitchy or catty, and that's kind of it.
Yes.
It's very not black fag.
Totally. And I want to be very fair. Like, if seeing a gay person this visible on primetime television, sort of like seeing his stories and the whole machine was very aspirational. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that shit was cool to see, but it was just the only thing. But yeah, they had they had everybody. They had like a fucking disabled person. They had like the cheerleaders were there, some jocks. Like it was
Well, wait, is it? Wait. Is that why people are saying that it ruined TV? Because
no.
it's
I'm
represented.
building up to it. No, let me cook.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you get to
Okay.
cook. See, this is
No, no,
what.
no. You
See.
cooking. You cooking. You cooking.
So yeah, so
I'm with you.
essentially, the formula for the show was sound. The cast was tight. Everybody was vocally talented. The stories
Huh.
were interesting. But I think what
'Cause I
happened is
remember that. I remember,
yes,
like, I watched
hmm
a couple episodes and I was like, I can't do this consistently, but this. I'm glad it exists. This is pretty.
solid
It's
show.
pretty entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sue
So
Sylvester.
it's
Come on.
insane, creating just a criminal, just doing crazy things to those cheerleaders.
Yeah.
It was an absurd dark comedy that was very satirical and it was kind of camp in a way that was
Yeah.
very tasty to the young
Yeah.
kids who maybe have not experienced camp in on primetime television. It was great. It was like chef's kiss. I really enjoyed it. It actually started out as a script that never got made that was essentially stretched into a TV series, which is interesting little fun fact. But nobody expected Glee to be a hit. Nobody did. But
Huh.
it targeted children where they were and sort of satirized high school in a way that was very appealing. And it just overnight sensation, smash hit, right?
And
There,
it felt like high school. I
it
think
felt like high school.
they
Yeah,
felt like high schoolers.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
But with the success came this vibe from the outside looking in that this show had to be the show. It took a weird left turn into after school special territory, but not in any way that was actually conducive to teaching anyone lessons. So comparatively, and I will use this as an example for you, Future, because you are a Canadian dude.
Yes.
Degrassi was a
Oh
perfect
yeah,
example. Do you know what I mean? Great after
Degrassi
school
was the
special.
fucking
Great,
shit.
great. Long shelf life, different generations got into it. I was in the Aubrey Graham season where he got shot in the back and was paralyzed.
Jimmy.
So Jimmy's by Jimmy. So I always say, I never personally can really stomach Drake as a gangster rapper because I know he was on this after school Canadian
Also,
after
he
school
grew up in like
special
fucking like
in the
Forest
rich
Hill.
part.
Okay,
Totally,
it's as
totally.
picturesque as it sounds.
Totally. Um, Actually, if y'all listeners want to go find videos of him being insane, there's videos of him from that era just saying crazy stuff, by the way. But that's a very good
Yeah.
example of an after school special that really had great writing and actually was a serious show that was meant to be that. Glee was essentially a dark comedy that they shifted to try to make after school special. So it wouldn't be uncommon that one hour episode will have five different topics that they tried to cover. And they were
Mm.
all done not only heavy-handed, but sometimes insane. I remember like the character Mercedes, played by Amber Riley, the black character, was sort of like starting a conversation about the Ohio high school and how racism happens to her. And I think Quinn, who was the white teenager who was pregnant, said, "Well, I feel the same way. I'm a pregnant teenager, so I get you, girl." It's just like shit like that to where it sort of
Okay,
misses the
wait.
mark.
Okay, got so when you the after school special was like this introduction of like this is one of those situations where it was trying to be woke
Totally,
in a way that was not conducive to
totally.
storyline, character development, anything like that.
Yes. That show was
Yes,
that show was there
got
were
it.
I mean, I mentioned earlier the school shooting episode, which ended up being just there's a Down syndrome character with Down syndrome named Becky, who is essentially Sue Sylvester's protege. She brings a gun to school, like I guess trying to kill herself, but the gun goes off and it freaks out everybody in the school, and it turns into this weird like singing because we may die. It was just a school shooting episode in a show that maybe should not have had
Oh
one.
no.
There's so
That
many
sounds
episodes that are
terrible.
insane. Like so many shows are like, we were just singing a Britney Spears song, but now we're just like in the fight for our lives. Like where did hang on, how did we get here?
Yeah. No, this makes sense because when Quinta
Mhm.
Brunson was, because she's been asked several times, "Oh, you guys do school shootings on Abbott
Totally.
Elementary." She was just like, "Why? Like, what the fuck?"
Why?
And then you look and you're like,
Yes.
that's a great cast of
Because
characters.
Glee did it.
It's great representation,
Yeah.
especially considering like where they are.
Yeah.
It's an ode to public schools at a time when they're absolutely
Hmm.
getting fucking gutted,
Yeah.
which is a good reminder for people that no matter how aloof or far, no matter if we're the aloof wife or not, we are always going to be subject to the mercy of the lowest quintile.
But to answer to all of this contextual sort of, schlock to say that Glee was a show that had everything. It had merchandise tie-ins. It had like, it sort of like jump-started the careers of a lot of people in that cast. The cast
Mm,
themselves went on tour as Glee characters to sold out arenas. So the Glee property made a fuck ton of money, and I
why can't I
believe
sing? Damn it.
that I believe that network television has been trying to replicate that ever since. So there's always going to be a
Mm,
push for, okay, does maybe one of them sing or do comedy? Does can we have these conversations? And the thing that Glee had at the time, and we obviously hindsight is 2020, so we have retrospective sort of ways to look at the show now. At the time, it was a groundbreaking show. Nobody was talking about teen pregnancies like that. Nobody was talking about gay bullying. No one was talking about handicapped kids being bullied in schools. Nobody was talking about any of this shit on TV. So it was groundbreaking
yeah.
in that sense, but the execution was maybe not the best.
And
But it,
and I think it's been kind of followed in a way, like this like really
yes,
extreme,
yes,
almost caricatured,
totally, totally, no nuance.
way of
Yeah,
identity based
yes, yeah.
wokeism.
And it all
Um,
has to do with the people who have seats at the table in terms of show running and executive producers who are in the room. They're not
well, it's a
young
good
people.
thing that we're suddenly in an abundance of Black literature, Black culture, Black journalists, Black right. Oh, wait, no, they all got fired.
They
They
all
all
got
got
canned.
pushed out. They all
Totally.
got canned.
Yeah.
But don't worry, because the movements got us.
I really think that media is probably one of the biggest ways for us to sort of start conversations, and it is where I usually go because
Yeah.
shows and movies are being beamed into your fucking corneas every 5 seconds. So I just,
No, literally,
you know what I mean?
it's Prismo and
Yeah,
the Ice King. Like it's
totally,
just like we're just
totally.
gonna put this little universe in your brain.
Very
It's a
good
Finn
Adventure
and
Time
Cake
reference.
follow up
Very, very
episode. If you
good.
guys
Very
watch
good
it,
reference.
I love Adventure Time. Is
Yeah,
that not correct? Like, is that not
yeah,
so apt?
yeah.
It's
Well,
Adventure
yeah.
Time and Fiona and Cake.
And that
Um,
show, quick, like random tangential related, that show is a great concept or a great example of showrunners, writers actually being students of the craft. They grew up with good shit. I'm sure they were watching SpongeBob. They were watching like all the
yeah,
Cow and Chicken. They were watching Courage to Call Your Dog. They were watching these shows that
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
cared about, you know, being funny and actually being good and well written shows. They also, I'm sure, are into anime because anime has a very specific style of storytelling that doesn't actually treat the viewers like infants. That's just my
Right.
little take.
No, we love it, and honestly needed it. Like, if we should probably edit this so that it goes before all the other stuff. And I promise, and I promise, I don't want to diminish the Zoran win. Like
Sure.
it's like
Yeah.
it took hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
canvassing. It took hundreds of thousands of hours. It took an unbelievable, um, set of talking points, angles, likability, luck, all the shit that you could possibly imagine
Yes. Yes.
that was made possible because people came together with a single goal in mind, which was to get that man elected. It's a demonstration of our power.
Yep.
But for those of us not in New York City, we didn't do shit
Yeah.
to help. And that's not an indictment. That's to understand that we don't get to lay back and say that's our win.
We're
Right.
good.
And that, you see, if you just start, if y'all started saying what we wanted to say or what we've been saying, then people will vote for you and you will win. That is not how the rest of the fucking country works. That is a liberal bastion in one of the most difficult times. And it wasn't the landslide that we hoped it would be. I'm so glad we beat billionaires. But again, think about the time and the place. Where did we win?
Yeah.
Right. By the way, I'm
Well,
sure Prop 50 passed.
I think we won because
Let me
we
look it
get
up.
to watch a hot man. You know what I mean? Like I always say,
No,
like,
no, no, no. Of course, and I
you know what
like
I
this is
mean?
the thing. I'm ruining the party. I'm gonna be excited about it tomorrow. But I
Yes.
am in this like thinking mode of what are we missing, and
Yes.
unfortunately, you all have to be
Fair.
subject to it because that's my job. But
Yes.
it's not fun, and I'm not
No.
having fun either. So I'm gonna try, and in the middle of having fun somewhere. Yes, I am doing a shit ton of research on Sudan because that's
Yes.
my job. But
You know what my job
I'll
is?
try to be happier.
My job is to appreciate Zoran Mamdani and his hot wife
No, no,
and
no.
imagine them
They're
being
so
hot
hot.
together.
Like
They're
this is the
so
thing.
hot. They're
They're so
so
fucking
hot.
hot. And so it is our win, but culturally.
No, totally understand what you're saying. I think that is important,
And
and you
I
are hitting
don't
the nail on
want
the
to.
head.
I'm so tired of being this fucking guy. Like I'm a little like nigga thorn in people's
Uh-huh.
leg,
Uh-huh.
being like, don't forget about this. Like I
But that's
know what I
important. But
sound
that's
like.
important.
But
And
don't forget, y'all, is that the thinking happens and then the packaging happens, and then I have to be funny and irresistible. But
yes.
first and foremost, like we have to understand what the fuck we need to say that we haven't said. Oh, look, Corey, somebody just said the episodes haven't updated on Apple Podcasts since October 7th.
I maybe that's an old comment. Dear listeners, there is a essentially what we had to do is there was a duplicate page there. So if you go out and search Dark Woke, there should only be one show showing up now, and you should be able to play all episodes. They are current
And
there.
yes, and let us know if that's not the case. Anyway, I promise the good times are coming where we just talk shit and judge everybody else.
Yes.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It's my favorite pastime, us bonding over mutual disdain. You just indulge me, blame it on the Dayquil NyQuil remix, blame it on whatever, but I can't, I just unfortunately am like, fuck, there's major areas I'm not seeing us tackle.
And that's okay to highlight them. I think our dark woke listeners listen for those.
I know, but fuck me if I don't. I've just not been enjoying myself. I'm like, oh God, I wish I just had brain fog and all I could do was talk about farts. You know what I mean? Like
Oh my God,
that's a
farts.
good time. Okay.
Last thing here
We're
that I want to
trending
mention.
well. We're trending well in California. There's Democratic wins in New Jersey and in Virginia, and there's a bigger win that was both democratic and cultural in Zoran Mamdani. And I think that's what I want us to take away is, what if we won culturally and politically? And if we can combine our cultural acumen with some political might, we might be able to do on our side what the fringe freaks that used to be MAGA and is now this administration. Perhaps we can have some semblance of influence, and I don't even need a replication. I just need any influence at all. Any influence at all. Thank you, Corey, for helping me understand, because I was like, oh, right, Ryan Murphy. I had this random question that had nothing to do with the show that everybody fucking hates. But so I do appreciate, because you are a TV writer and producer and all the other things in addition to this part. But yeah, I just was like, oh, right, you're actually an issue area expert. And this is something that I've seen. And we're troubleshooting all the pieces. So I just remember that info at Dark Woke is real. So hit us there if you have any questions or things you want to see or whatever, because, we're going to start really, we're on the runway now.
That
We're
is
still building the
right.
plane, but we're on the fucking runway, y'all. So
Well, we can parallel path.
yeah. So I'll say I appreciate all of you. Thank you, Corey. You'll make this look good and sound good. I'm so serious though about this random question with Glee because I am bumming. Am I bumming everybody out? I might be.
No, I don't think so. Well, let us know if listeners send your queries and
I'll
questions.
write some. I'll make better jokes. I just can't do it until I fully understand it, and then I can mock it, which is why my jokes are funny. But at present, I'm like, shit, I don't even want to do this. What happens when we identify the problem and it's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fucking do this.
I don't know if I have an answer for that.
Yeah.
My answer is
if I did,
too fucking bad.
If we did, we'd be unstoppable, I think, as people. Okay. I'll go feed these dogs. I love you all very, very much. Thank you for your expertise, Corey, and I can't wait to talk to y'all soon. But honestly, any work is good work. That is the main fucking thing. Like that, the whole point is like, you're powerless, you're nothing, you can't. And actually, we're very powerful. The very idea of us is exactly why all of this happened. We've been rigged at the scale at the literal level of the system, but they were rigging black folks, not you. They were rigging black folks out of the system. If we aren't actively working to bring black folks into the system because we keep bailing out the left, I don't know that we win in any real way at all. Like Mamdani got that Ugandan Kwame sauce. I'm just saying, like, that his politics are black politics. They're not. I'm not trying to be divisive or whatever. They're not white politics. They're not trans politics. They're not Jewish politics. These are black politics. And if you take umbrage to that, I'm happy to destroy you in a debate. Because I've obviously had to do research on these things. I'm very familiar with Catholicism and Christianity, but you damn right I've been reading up about fucking practices. And again, there's good ethos amongst the Jewish folks, like always with philanthropy and this, that, and the other. And we have a long tradition, but we're breaking apart in ways that I think don't need to be this serious. There's a union that's happening. on that side. An ugly one. We could have a hot one over here. But anyway, okay. Goodbye. I say love you. Bye.